Hi, I'm Adobe Certified Instructor Dave Kelly here with another neat Lightroom trick for you. It has to do with getting started with Lightroom and setting it up, and it's just a few short tips that will help make your life easier as you get into using the program down the road. So let's get started.
In setting up Lightroom, there are several decisions that need to be made and a couple of tasks that need to be accomplished. The first decision is how many catalogs do you need? You probably only need one catalog because the Lightroom catalog is capable of handling tens of thousands of images. But I can see where someone might like to have two catalogs, for example, one for business and a second one for family or a hobby or something like that. So it's easy to create a new catalog. You just have to go up here to the File menu and select New Catalog. The dialog box comes up on the screen and asks you to name the new catalog, and then it asks you where you want to place the catalog on your computer. And that's the second decision that needs to be made. By default, when you load the Lightroom application onto your computer, it puts the catalog on the same drive as the application, which is usually the C drive on a PC or the Macintosh hard drive on a Macintosh. And this is certainly your fastest drive. However, if you're only working with a desktop, you might want to consider putting the Lightroom catalog on an external hard drive. And here's the reason. When your computer's hard drive crashes, or you buy yourself a new computer, once you've reestablished Lightroom on the new computer or on the new hard drive, you will then have to recreate your catalog. Hopefully you'll be able to do it from a backup that you've done on a regular basis in Lightroom. However, if your catalog is on an external hard drive, all you'll have to do after you've reestablished the Lightroom application on your computer is go to the File menu and say Open Catalog. Once you do that, you just navigate to the external hard drive where the catalog is located, select the catalog, and then click on the Open button, and you're back in business. Just make sure that the external hard drive on which the catalog is located is included in the computer's backup. Once you've decided how many catalogs you need and where they should be located on the computer, go into the catalog settings, which are found under the Lightroom menu on the Macintosh computer or under the Edit menu on the PC. When you open up the catalog settings, go first to the General settings, and at the very bottom determine how often Lightroom should be backed up. You have several choices. My recommendation is that you should back up your catalog every time Lightroom exits. After you've determined how often you want to back up your catalog, the next thing to do is to go to the metadata section of the catalog settings and make sure that the third box down, automatically write changes to XMP, is checked. What this will do for you is every time you make a change in the image, whether it's add a keyword to it, put it in a collection, add a develop setting on top of it, all of those will automatically be written into the XMP sidecar or into the DNG file if that's what you're using. And the reason this is important is if you export this image to another program, Photoshop for example, you probably want all of your develop settings and so forth to go along with the image. Another thing that will make your life easier down the road is to go into the Lightroom preferences, which also are found underneath the Lightroom menu on the Macintosh computer or the Edit menu on the PC. In the preferences, go to the General Preferences and place a check mark in the box in the third section down that says select the current/previous import collection during import. So what does this do for us? Well, it allows us to select a folder of images that have been previously imported into Lightroom while we're waiting for the current images to be imported. So prior to this, we used to have to wait until the import of the current images were done before we could work on any other folders. Now we don't have to. We can go ahead and select a folder and work on the images that have been previously imported into Lightroom. If you're new to Lightroom, actually even if you're not new to Lightroom, give some thought as to how you want to structure the Folders panel over here on the left side of the screen in the Library module. The Folders panel is where Lightroom keeps track of all the images that you've imported into Lightroom, whether they're on the computer's hard drive or an external hard drive connected to the computer or not connected to the computer. Lightroom will also show you what every picture looks like, even if your external hard drive is not connected to the computer. Not only that, if you created smart previews when you imported the images into Lightroom, you'll be able to work on those images in the Develop module even if the external hard drive is not connected to the computer. So that makes the Folders panel the first way to organize your images in Lightroom. And I think you should make it as simple as possible. Lightroom keeps track of your images in folders, and the folders can have subfolders, and the subfolders can have subfolders, so it can get pretty complicated. My advice would be to make your main folder a year, and each photo shoot underneath that year should be a subfolder. This really will make it pretty simple. And for those of you that already have your folders panel organized and are unhappy with it, a subsequent Neat Lightroom Tricks video will show you how to completely reorganize the folders panel from inside of Lightroom, and you won't believe how simple it is. Finally, with the structure of your folders panel set up, there are 4 tasks that need to be accomplished to really complete the setup. The first of these is to create a file naming template. I'm sure you're aware that the file name assigned to your images by the camera is not too informational, and I would think that it would be a good idea to have a file name that would give us at least some idea when the picture was taken, and either where the picture was taken or what the subject of the picture is. And there are 2 places that you can create a file naming template. If you've never imported any images into Lightroom, you can create it in the import dialog box. There's a file renaming section there, and we'll cover that in the Neat Lightroom Tricks video on importing. If you already have images imported into Lightroom, then in the Library module, if you go up here to the top of the screen to the Library menu, and from that menu select Rename Photo. The Rename Photo dialog box will come up on the screen. In the top blank, if you click on this double-pointed disclosure arrow on the right side here, you'll see there are several presets that are already in Lightroom. However, if you want to create your own custom file name, then click down here at the bottom of the choices where it says Edit, and it will bring up the File Renaming Template Editor. And I'm going to get rid of all of these here so that we can create our own file renaming. Since my folders are a year, I like to have a date, a 2-digit year. You have several different choices for dates. I usually start with the 2-digit year, and all I have to do is click on Insert. And once I do that, the 2-digit year is up there. And if you'll notice above it, it shows me an example of what my file name is going to be like. If I place my cursor at the end, I like to place an underscore after the 2-digit date. The next thing I want is some custom text, which is found down here in the bottom, and I just have to click on it, and then I'll place the cursor at the end of the file name and put in another underscore. And then I like a sequence. It's rare that I take 10,000 photos, but a lot of times I take over 1,000, so I want a 4-digit sequence, and you can see you have all different kinds of choices. So if I select the 4-digit sequence and insert it, now it has a sequence, and it tells me exactly what my file naming template will end up being. But instead of clicking Done now, what I want to do is again click on the double-pointed arrow here and say Save Current Settings as a new preset. When I do that, it asks me to name it. I've already named my preset DEK, so I'm going to cancel out of that and then say Done. Now you can see that my file naming is DEK, and when I select this, all I have to do is enter the custom text and the number I want to start with. Now, with my file naming template created, I can rename my images as they're being imported, or I can rename them after they're all imported. The second task to be accomplished is to create a metadata preset with your copyright and contact information in it. And there are also 2 places you can do that. One is again in the import dialog box, which will be discussed later. And the second way is here. From the metadata menu in the Library module at the top of the screen, you select from that menu Edit Metadata Presets. It will bring up the Edit Metadata Preset dialog box. And the only 2 sections that really need to be filled out are the IPTC Copyright section and the IPTC Creator collection. In the copyright section, you can see I've already got my copyright, my name, and my company name, and indicated that the image is copyrighted. You could make it unknown, or you could make it public domain, whatever you choose to do. And then the rights of usage term, none without written permission, and then my website here indicated here. In the IPTC Creator contact information, you just need to fill out your name and address, and your email address, your website, and your job title, and you can give give yourself whatever title you want. The one thing I don't recommend that you fill out is the creator phone number, because if some person in Australia finds your image at 1 o'clock in the afternoon his time, and he turns out to be a metadata creeper and wants to call you up and find out why you used an aperture of f8 instead of f5.6, it's not going to be a very convenient time for you. It'll be about 2 o'clock in the morning your time. Again, once you've filled this out, the next thing that you need to do is go up to the top and say save current settings as a new preset, and then just name the new preset and say create it. You can see I've named my preset DEK, and then you just have to click on done, and your metadata preset will be created and can be embedded into the images as they're being imported, or you can do it by selecting all of them and then adding the metadata preset to it after they've been imported. The final two tasks to be accomplished in Lightroom is to decide what information you want displayed on the images in the grid view of the library module and what information you want displayed on the loop view of the library module. And by the way, information that you choose to have displayed in the loop view of the library module can also be displayed on the image in the develop module. In the grid view, there are two different types of cells: compact cells and expanded cells. With the compact cell, there is one piece of information at the top of the cell and one piece of information at the bottom of the cell. With the expanded cell, there are 4 different pieces of information at the top of the cell, and the way you switch between the compact and expanded cell is to go to the View menu at the top of the screen, and from that menu select a Grid View Style, and you can see from the menu that appears you can have compact cells or expanded cells. Clicking on the expanded cell will show us the expanded cell with the 4 different pieces of information. The way you get the different information up on the cell is the same in both types of cells. You go to the View menu again up at the top, and where it says View Options, select that, and then select Grid View at the top. You have choices here: compact cells, and you can see what the top label will be, and if you click on this double-pointed disclosure arrow, you'll see all the different choices from which you can select to place information at the top of the cell, and the same choices are there for the bottom of the cell. If you choose to the expanded cell, you have 4 different choices for information to be placed all at the top of the cell, and it's exactly the same as it is in the compact cell. You just have to click on what information you want to be displayed on the cell, and that will be the information displayed. In the loop view, it's exactly the same type of a situation. If you select loop view, you have 2 choices for information here. Actually, you have 3. You can show no information on the image in the loop view, but you can have the two different types of information. Loop info 1 and loop info 2 is exactly the same. You get it exactly the same as you did in the compact cell. You click on the double pointed exposure arrow and you choose from any one of these things to be displayed in the cell. Once you've chosen the information you want to be displayed, then all you have to do is to go over to the image itself, and you can cycle through different information. And the way you would do that is you would use the I key. If you press the I key once, you will get info number 1. If you press it a second time, you will get info number 2. And if you press it a third time, you will get no info. So that's the way you get the information that you want displayed on the cell. All of this information is available in Lightroom 5 Made Easy, which is available from the publisher through a link on my website, dekphotography.com, or from amazon.com. It's also the type of practical information we'll be presenting in the Shoot the Light Post-Production Processing Workshop in Orlando, Florida, January 10th and 11th, 2015. So join Chaz Glatzer and myself for a workshop that will take your post-production processing not only to the next level, but far beyond.